Tension builds early as Esipenko and Van Foreest explore the depths of the Ruy-Lopez-Berlin defense in French Top 16 Club Championship 2025 Higher Pool Round 1. On e4. On e5. Knight f3. Threatening knight takes e5. Knight c6. Bishop b5 leads us into Ruy-Lopez-Berlin defense. Knight f6. On d3. Esipenko is aiming to play. Bishop takes c6. Pawn takes c6. Knight takes e5 and increase their advantage significantly. Bishop c5 played by Van Foreest. Bishop takes c6. Pawn takes c6. Pawn a3. Knight d7. Knight c3. King castled kingside. Bishop e3. Queen e7. On g4 it is novelty move. On a5. Rook g1. Rook d8. Queen c1. Knight f8. Bishop takes c5. Queen takes c5. Queen g5. Threatening queen takes d8. On f6 played by Van Foreest. Threatening pawn takes g5. Queen e3 played by Esipenko. Queen takes e3 check. Pawn takes e3. On h6. On h4. On g5. On a4. Knight g6. On h5. Threatening pawn takes g6. Knight h8 played by Van Foreest. King f2. Knight f7. King g3. Knight d6. Rook gf1. King g7. Rook f2. Bishop e6. Rook af1. Rook f8. Knight d2. Rook a d8. Rook b1. Rook a8. King h3. Rook a d8. Pawn b3. Rook d8. Rook ff1. Rook e7. King g3. Rook a8. King f3. Rook d7. Rook fd1. Rook e8. Knight f1. Bishop f7. Knight g3. Rook d e7. Rook d2. Bishop e6. Knight d1. Rook b8. Knight f2. King f7. On d4. Bishop d7. On c4. On b6. On c5. Threatening pawn takes d6. Pawn takes c5 played by Van Foreest. Pawn takes c5. Knight c4. Threatening knight takes d2 check. Rook d3 played by Esipenko. Esipenko is looking to play. Rook bd1. Knight b2. Rook takes d7 and put immense pressure on the opponent. Bishop e6 played by Van Foreest. Knight f5. Threatening knight takes e7. Rook d7 played by Van Foreest. Knight takes h6 check. King g7. Rook takes d7 check. Bishop takes d7. Rook d1. King takes h6. Rook takes d7. Rook takes b3. Rook f7. Rook takes e3 check. King g2. Rook a3. Rook takes f6 check. King h7. Rook takes c6. Knight e3 check. King h2. Rook takes a4. Rook takes c7 check. King h6. Rook c6 check. King h7. Rook g6. Esipenko considers playing. Knight h3. Rook a2 check. King g1. Rook g2 check. King h1 and increase their advantage significantly. Rook a2 played by Van Foreest. Threatening knight takes g4 check. King g3 played by Esipenko. Threatening rook takes g5. On a4 played by Van Foreest. On c6. Threatening rook takes g5. Rook c2 played by Van Foreest. Knight h3. Knight f1 check. King f3. Knight h2 check. King g3. Knight f1 check. King f3. Knight h2 check. King e3. Rook c3 check. King f2. Knight takes g4 check. King g2. Knight e3 check. King g1. On a3. Knight takes g5 check. King h8. On h6. Rook c1 check. King f2. Knight g4 check. King f3. Esipenko intends to play. Knight f7 check. King h7. Rook g7 mate and seize the initiative. Knight takes h6 played by Van Foreest. Rook takes h6 check. King g7. Threatening king takes h6. Rook h2 played by Esipenko. Rook takes c6. King g4. Esipenko wants to play. Rook h7 check. King g6. Rook a7. Rook f6. Knight h3. Rook d6. Rook takes a3 and increase their advantage significantly. Rook f6 played by Van Foreest. Rook a2. Threatening rook takes a3. King g6 played by Van Foreest. Knight h3. Threatening rook takes a3. Rook a6 played by Van Foreest. Knight f2. Rook a4. King f3. King g5. Knight d1. Rook d4. Knight f2. Threatening rook takes a3. Rook a4 played by Van Foreest. Knight g4. Threatening knight takes e5. Rook a5 played by Van Foreest. Knight e3. Rook a8. Knight d5. Esipenko intends to play. King e3. Rook a5. Knight c3. Rook a6. Knight b1. Rook b6. Knight d2. Rook a6. Knight c4 and establish a winning position. Rook a4 played by Van Foreest. Knight c3. Threatening knight takes a4. Rook a8 played by Van Foreest. King g3. Rook a6. King f3. Rook a8. Knight d1. Rook d8. Knight f2. Threatening rook takes a3. Rook a8 played by Van Foreest. Knight d3. Threatening knight takes e5. Rook a5 played by Van Foreest. King e3. King g4. Knight e1. Esipenko is looking to play. Knight c2. Rook b5. Rook takes a3 and increase their advantage significantly. Rook a8 played by Van Foreest. Knight f3. Threatening knight takes e5 check. Rook a5 played by Van Foreest. Rook g2 check. King h5. Rook h2 check. King g6. Rook a2. King f6. Knight d2. Rook a4. King d3. Rook a8. Knight b1. Rook d8 check. King c2. Rook c8 check. Knight c3. Threatening rook takes a3. King g5 played by Van Foreest. Rook takes a3. King f4. King d3. Van Foreest saw no escape and decided to resign.